Alrighty, so it's not just Lululemon, of course. This entire sort of debacle is designed in order to push corporations to do what the left wants them to do. The latest element of this, of course, is Toyota has now announced it will stop any donation to any Republican member of Congress who voted against certifying the 2020 presidential election. Now, presumably, Toyota is not going to do this for example, Jamie Raskin from Maryland, who you'll remember last time around in 2016 voted against certifying the election. But according to Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, the company's PAC has given $56,000 to 38 members of Congress who objected to the certification of the election on January 6th. And it is a very short step from this particular thing. Listen, I don't think that anyone should have voted against the certification of the election. I don't think there is a legal basis to do so. I've been very, very clear about this. With that said, I don't think that corporations should be forced to boycott politicians who agree with their particular business agenda because those politicians also supported a thing with which the company was not involved. So, for example, I do not think that companies should be forced to stop giving money if they are into giving money to Democrats based on their economic agenda for some reason. I don't think that there should be a lot of social pressure to force those companies to stop giving money to Democrats based on the fact that Democrats support, broadly speaking, crackdowns on religious freedom. Right? If it's a company that's not involved with any of that sort of stuff, I don't really think those two things are related. But we have now come to the point where anything that becomes a leftist talking point is an excuse to push corporations to not give to Republicans overall. That is the goal. January 6th is just the excuse. And if it weren't January 6th, it would be something else. It would be anybody who supported Donald Trump cannot be supported by any sort of corporation. Because if they do, then they are supporting all of the evils and excesses of Donald Trump. In a statement issued on Thursday, Japan-based automaker said it had, quote, decided to stop contributing to those members of Congress who contested the certification. Toyota is committed to supporting and promoting actions that further our democracy, said Toyota. Right, this is the same thing that Stacey Abrams finally accomplished in Georgia when he saw corporations divesting from the state of Georgia because Georgia passed a law shoring up voter ID, for example. And then she realized, oh, this was a bad idea and tried to back off of that. Toyota says our company has long-standing relationships with members of Congress across the political spectrum, especially those representing our U.S. operations. Our bipartisan PAC equally supports Democrats and Republicans running for Congress. In fact, in 2021, the vast majority of contributions went to Democrats and Republicans who supported the certification of the 2020 election. We understand that the PAC decision to support select members of Congress who contested the results troubled some stakeholders. We are actively listening to our stakeholders, and at this time we have decided to stop contributing to these members of Congress who contested the certification of certain states in the 2020 election. The reason I pause on the word stakeholders is because this is deeply indicative of a perverse view of how business is supposed to work. And there are two views of how business is supposed to work. One is what is called shareholder capitalism, pushed by people like Milton Friedman. And the basic idea here is that a company's main duty is to its shareholders. You buy stock in a company, and now the company has a duty to you. The company has a duty to create a program that will allow for long-term earnings. The company has a duty to ensure that your stock price over time does not go down, that they make good business decisions. Okay, that's what shareholder capitalism is all about. That the people who actually own a share of the company are the people to whom the company's board is responsible. Stakeholder capitalism is a very different thing. Stakeholder capitalism is a term that's been coined by quote-unquote intellectual elites to suggest a system in which corporations are answerable not just to their own shareholders, but to the public at large, which really means to government actors and the media. Stakeholders are people who do not own shares in the company, who don't own any, they don't buy Toyota cars, they don't have a share of Toyota stock. They're just anyone who's affected by Toyota, meaning a person in the world. And so if a person in the world has a complaint about Toyota, Toyota will now respond to those people, which of course means they are not responding to economic concerns. They are not focusing in on what makes their product better and less expensive for the consumer. Instead, they are focused in on pleasing particular political actors who are the loudest. Stakeholder capitalism, again, is just a way of saying that your corporate overlords ought to be responding not to market incentives, but to non-market incentives. They are not responding to the demands of the market. They are responding instead to the loudest political actors out there, which is a form of corporatism in which corporations act hand in glove with the government and with the Democrat media complex in order to cram down institutional power. My new book, The Authoritarian Moment, is all about this. It's about how the institutions of power have been hijacked and weaponized by the left. Stakeholder capitalism is a very big aspect of this. And this is why you are seeing the media cover Lululemon, because you're a stakeholder in Lululemon, you see. You don't own stocks. You don't even own Lululemon pants. You're a dude. But still, you have a stake in what Lululemon does. Same thing with Toyota. You have a stake in what they do. Therefore, you ought to run their company. Okay, this is not a recipe for economic success or political health for a nation. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date with all our future content.